This video is the next video in the coordinate geometry of the line videos. In particular, this is looking at coordinate geometry of the line worksheet number 8, which focuses on the intersection of lines with axes. So to find the point where a line cuts the x-axis, take the equation of the line and replace y with 0. Solve the equation to find the value of x. This value of x is the x-coordinate of the point and is called the x-intercept. To find where the point cuts the y-axis, take the equation of the line and replace x with 0. Solve this equation to find the value of y. This value of y is the y-coordinate of the point and is called the y-intercept. Now, that might not make too much sense at the moment, but we're going to be going through a few examples where hopefully it will make it much clearer. However, I want you to remember that we know that an equation of an line can be written in the form y is equal to mx plus c. We already know that m here stands for the slope. However, we might not know already that c here, that stands for the y-intercept. So if we have an equation in the form y is equal to 2x plus 2, this plus 2 here basically means that this value of y is where it's going to intercept the y-axis. So the point where it intercepts the y-axis will be 0, 2. Similarly, if you have a line y is equal to 3x minus 4, the point where that line is going to intercept the y-axis will be 0, minus 4. Again, if that's not making too much sense, we're going to be going through a few examples where hopefully it'll become a bit clearer. So just looking at kind of a graph here. So if m is the line x plus 2y minus 4 is equal to 0. Well, what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to put it in the form y is equal to mx plus c. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to minus x from both sides and plus 4. And when you minus x from both sides and plus 4, you're left with what we have here, which is 2y is equal to minus x plus 4. Now, we need it in the form y is equal to mx plus c. So we're going to divide both terms, or all terms, by 2. So you're left then with y is equal to minus a half x plus 2. We know that the minus a half here, that's the slope, and we now know that the plus 2 here is what we call the y-intercept. So as we've said, the slope is minus a half. However, the plus 2, which is the number on its own, is where it cuts the y-axis. And if we look here, when we draw it, it's going to cut the y-axis here, which is at 2. Now, to go through some examples of questions like this, we have here example 1. So it says find the coordinates of the points where the following lines intersect the x-axis and y-axis. And we're going to do the first one on this slide. So we have the line x minus y minus 4 is equal to 0. So we need to figure out where this cuts the x-axis and where it cuts the y-axis. So when it cuts the x-axis, we have that y is going to be equal to 0. And when it cuts the y-axis, we're going to get that x is equal to 0. So next we take the line, so x minus y minus 4 is equal to 0. And we let, first of all, when we want to figure out where it cuts the x-axis, we're going to let y equal to 0. In this case, we're going to get x minus 0 minus 4 is equal to 0. So that will become x minus 4 is equal to 0, which if we plus 4 to both sides, we'll get x is equal to 4. So the point here is 4, 0, and that's where it cuts the x-axis. Next, we can figure out where it's going to cut the y-axis, and when it cuts the y-axis, x is equal to 0. So again, we take the equation of the line, which is x minus y minus 4 is equal to 0. We replace x with 0, so this is going to become 0 minus y minus 4 is equal to 0. Plus 4 to both sides, we're going to get that minus y is equal to 4. So then y is going to be equal to minus 4. So the point where this graph cuts the y-axis is going to be 0, minus 4. Now, so we're looking back at what the question asked us. It wanted us to find the point where the line crossed the x-axis and the y-axis. We have done that. It crosses the x-axis at 4, 0, and the y-axis as 0, minus 4. So that's this question complete. The next example is the very same. So it says find the coordinates at the point where the following line intersects the x-axis and y-axis. So we have the line this time, 3x plus y plus 9 is equal to 0. So first of all, we figure out where it crosses the x-axis, and it crosses the x-axis when y is equal to 0. So what we do is we take the equation of the line 3x plus y plus 9 is equal to 0, and we let y equal to 0. So we get 3x plus 0 plus 9 is equal to 0. So this will be 3x plus 9 is equal to 0. We can take 9 from both sides, and we'll get 3x is equal to minus 9. Divide both sides by 3, and we'll get that x is equal to minus 3. So then the point we have is minus 3, 0, and that's where the line intersects the x-axis. The next thing we need to do is figure out where it intersects the y-axis. So it intersects the y-axis when x is equal to 0. So again, we write out the equation of the line 3x plus y plus 9 is equal to 0. In this case, x is 0, so it's 3 times 0 plus y plus 9 is equal to 0. Here, 3 times 0 is 0, so it's just going to be left with y plus 9 is equal to 0. We can take 9 from both sides, and we'll be left with y is equal to minus 9. So the point we have then is 0 minus 9. So what we've done now is we figured out where the graph cuts the y-axis. Looking back to what the question was originally asking us, it said find the coordinates of the point where the following lines intersects the x-axis and y-axis. So we have the line 3x plus y plus 9 is equal to 0. It cuts the x-axis at the point 3, 0, and it cuts the y-axis at the point 0, minus 9. The final example I'm going to look at then here says it has the line x minus 2y plus 12 is equal to 0, and it wants us to find the point where it crosses the x-axis and y-axis. So we have the x-axis to start with, and it's going to cut the x-axis when y is equal to 0. So we have the line x minus 2y plus 12 is equal to 0. So we replace y with 0. So this becomes x minus 2 times 0 plus 12 is equal to 0. This then becomes x plus 12 is equal to 0. We can take 12 from both sides. So we're going to get that x is equal to minus 12. So the point then is minus 12, 0. We want to find out as well where it cuts the y-axis. When it cuts the y-axis, x is equal to 0. So we write down the line again, x minus 2y plus 12 is equal to 0. We replace x with 0, so it becomes 0 minus 2y plus 12 is equal to 0. We can minus 12 from both sides. This becomes minus 2y is equal to minus 12. So we're going to divide both sides by minus 2. And we'll get that y is equal to 6. The point then will be 0, 6. So going back on what the question asked us, first of all it wanted us to figure out where the line crosses the x-axis, and it crosses the x-axis at the point minus 12, 0. Secondly, it wanted us to figure out where the line cuts the y-axis, and it cuts the y-axis at point 0, 6. Looking at some of the questions that you'll be completing then, so question 1 asks you first of all to figure out if f of x is equal to 0, find the value for y. Now write down the coordinates of the point at which the line crosses the y-axis. It's just breaking down the example even more. And B is the exact same, except if they're saying if y is equal to 0, find the value of x. So it's the exact same as example 1, 2 and 3. The only difference is they're breaking it down into steps for you. Question 2 asks you to find the coordinates of where the point cuts the x-axis. So when it cuts the x-axis, we know that y is equal to 0. Question 3 then says find the coordinates of the point where each of these lines cuts the y-axis. And when it cuts the y-axis, we know that x is equal to 0. So we're able to find the points. Now, the coordinates is really, really important. For this, there'll be an answer at point, so there has to be an x and a y. So all of the answers will have x and y. Question 4 asks you to find the points where the line y is equal to 2x minus 5 intersects the x and y axis. So it's exactly like example 1, 2 and 3. Question 5 then is the exact same as question 4, except there's just loads of different examples for you to complete there. Question 6 tells you that the line there cuts the x-axis at the point K. So you find the point K by letting y equal to 0. It says L intersects the y-axis at P. Find the coordinates of P. Again, if it intersects the y-axis, we have x is equal to 0. And then it's asking you to find the slope of PK which we should know the slope formula. So m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 in your formula tables booklet on page 18 if not. And then it wants you to find the length, so that's the distance formula. So that's the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Question 7 then says, which of the three lines below intersect the x-axis at 2, 0 and the y-axis at 0, minus 1. So you need to figure out where each of the three lines cut the x-axis and the y-axis, and figure out which one cuts the x-axis at 2, 0 and which one cuts the y-axis at 0, minus 1. And finally, question 8 says, by finding where the line crosses the x and y axis, match each of these equations to the correct graph. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take each of the three equations, you're going to figure out where it cuts the x-axis and where it cuts the y-axis, and then you're going to match either 1 to C, 1 to D, or 1 to E. Completely up to you. So that is question 7 and 8. That is all the questions that you're answering on this worksheet. So I'm hoping that all the questions will be okay. If there is any questions in relation to anything, send me an email and I will get back to you straight away.